Today I'm at the Mount Olive Cemetery in Hanover, Pennsylvania. This is a cemetery I've driven past many times, but have never come inside. So today I'm going to walk around and explore a little bit. There seems to be some very old graves here, but it also has modern graves. There's still burials here. So I'm going to walk around and take a look and see what I can find. Alright, so I'm walking around. It's pretty quiet in here. It's a big cemetery. There's this building right here. I was just reading the top up there. There's some words. I believe it says it's a chapel. Up ahead there's a mausoleum right there. And also an interesting headstone. I want to look and see what that says. I don't know much about the cemetery, but Hanover is a very historic town in Pennsylvania. If you're not from around here, you may know them for Snyder's of Hanover snacks, Pepperidge Farm, Utz potato chips if you're on the East Coast. That's all manufactured here in Hanover, Pennsylvania. Hanover also has a lot of history with the Civil War, especially leading up to the Battle of Gettysburg. And speaking of Civil War, there's a grave of a Civil War veteran right here. So here's the grave I noticed from a distance. All right, look at that. Pretty interesting grave right there from the late 1800s. Right here, there are a few pretty old graves. The ones in the front you can still make out the letters on them, while the ones on the back are just beyond readable. There's no noticeable markings on them of any sort. Like any cemetery this old, you have graves that have broken, fallen over, start to get buried in the ground. Now this grave ahead with this what appears to be a Civil War soldier on it, this is a grave that I would always stare at night. Driving down the road, I would just see it in the cemetery here, and I've always wanted to look at it and see who it was for or what it was for, if it was a memorial for Civil War soldiers in general, if it was actually a person's grave. There's also a cannon over there, so this may be an area where a lot of Civil War soldiers are buried. There's a lot of flags over here. It seems like they do a very good job with marking each grave of a veteran with a flag here. And it looks like we have a lot of Civil War soldiers here. So it looks like this is a section of Civil War soldiers. I'm not sure. It appears these soldiers died in battle, it looks like, from how the graves are. It doesn't have a date on it. Possibly Gettysburg, maybe. I'm actually going to look at that monument behind me, because it does appear to be a monument. So it looks like It has the names here. It looks like these are the fallen men from Hanover who served in the Civil War. So it doesn't specifically say what battle they perished in, but it appears that they're all buried right here. So it appears that this was a memorial to the fallen Civil War soldiers of Hanover, Pennsylvania. It is really quiet out here. And this is a pretty large cemetery to take in. Anytime I walk into a cemetery like this, I wanna explore it all. I wanna see everything. And take in the architecture of the graves and look at names and dates, and just, even though I knew none of these people that are buried here, I guess just remember them. Even though I didn't know them, pay them a visit and remember their lives by looking at their graves. And you can see a lot in these cemeteries. Obviously, like I said, it looks like they have done a really good job at marking veterans' graves with flags. So I know anywhere I see a flag, I'm going to be able to see a veteran. So this is kind of interesting. So these are usually markers that are put on new graves before they get your headstone in. They usually put a temporary marker up. And there's one right here too. And it says 1992 on it. And it has a funeral home name right there. I wonder if the person buried never got a headstone, or if these were just here the whole time and they got buried in the ground somehow and then over time resurfaced. I don't know, but that's interesting. Obviously that one has a name, a funeral home, and a date, and this one just has essentially part of a funeral home name on there, but there's no grave here. This is just a massive cemetery. These are the type of cemeteries I love to discover because there's so much to see. You have little cemeteries that may have a few graves, but then you find these massive cemeteries where you can walk around for a long time exploring. On this side of the cemetery, there's a lot of land out here. And there's also a line of graves for World War II veterans. As you see, if you look out that way, you see the mountains. And if you look out this way, you see the farmland. It's kind of the line between the farm and the mountains. And for such a massive cemetery, it's just so quiet. There was no one else around. Nothing but the sounds of the birds and the wind. Alright, so I've essentially made a full walk around this cemetery and explored every section. And this is a really interesting cemetery. So much different architecture and graves, so much history. Very scenic, very peaceful. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I had never been in here before. I passed it many times, and I decided I have to go in there and explore it. I have to see the graves. I have to see who's buried here. And if you're ever in the Hanover area and you like to explore cemeteries, come take a look, come walk around. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the walk around this massive cemetery. As always, if you saw or heard anything unusual in this video, let me know in the comments. Until next time, this is Fixed Image. Same peace.